Call to order the February 15th Putnam County Planning Commission meeting. Please stand for Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do the roll call, please.
Jason Asbury,
Here.
Heather Davis, Jim Dodrell, Ron Foster,
Here.
David Haba,
Dave, you still on?
Yes, I am.
Brian Wellman, Dick Mays,
Here.
David Meadows, David Mills, Jacob Pack, Stephen Perry, Travis Willard,
Here.
Glenn Yeager.
Glenn, you still on?
I am.
Seven. A quorum.
Go away.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Glenn. All right, staff sent out meeting minutes from last month. They're also in your packets in front of you. Take a look over them. If there's any changes, let us know, and I'll entertain a motion to approve. Motion for Mr. Hoylman. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. I'm going to jump out of order just for a minute. We do have a new member here. I'd like to welcome and introduce Travis Willard. Welcome. Thanks for joining us, and feel free to tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, background, et cetera.
Thanks, Jason. Glad to be here. So I've spent the majority of my life between Putnam and Mason counties. I'm a financial advisor by trade, also 22 years in the military. So happy to be here and help any way I can.
Thank you. All right, so next on our agenda here is citizens' concerns. This is part of our meeting where if there's any citizens, you have concerns, it's not going to be covered in our agenda. It's your opportunity to come forward and voice those concerns. Just please state your name and address.
Linda Tennant, 7 Hampton Crossing, Hurricane. I just have 2 suggestions for the commission. One is the agenda. I know David and I had exchanged some emails, but my request would be to put the agenda of your upcoming meetings 5 days before the meeting on the website, so the public could have an idea of what's going to be going on for the meeting. That's just a suggestion.
Okay.
My second suggestion, and I think I've suggested this before, whenever you make a change to an ordinance, and I don't know if any of you are familiar with ISO standards. It's a standard organization. But whenever you make a change to an ordinance, if you can include on the back of the page the date of the change, what the change was, and who was the president of the commission when they made that change. That way, it'll let the public kind of keep track of what the changes were. And most organizations do that. They keep a running total or running track of what those changes are. Those are just my suggestions.
Thank you. All right, next on our agenda here is the proposed text amendment 2022-02.
Good evening, all.
Howdy.
First one we're going to talk about here is text amendment to modify Article 100.08, Sale of Property in the Putnam County Subdivision Regulations, proposed text amendment 2022-02. Before I get started reading this summary, if you would look at this 11 by 17 document that's labeled 2022-02, and if you would turn to page 3, this will help us have a little preliminary understanding of what we're going to discuss with this amendment, proposed amendment. If you look at page 3, this is an example of an approved preliminary subdivision plat. It is 15 lots, which consists of 3 complete townhouse structures and 2 duplex structures. And the one we're going to be focusing on, just for to help us understand the purpose of this proposed amendment, is building number 2, which is circled in red. If you turn to the next page, which is the 4th page of this little presentation, you'll see on the left side, within the yellow circle, as the subdivision regulations read right now, there is a developer has a 1-lot exemption that they can utilize between the time that the preliminary plat is approved and until the final plat is approved. And this will allow them to record and sell 1 lot to help to finance the rest of the development. What we're going to talk about here in a few moments is an example of what you see on the right-hand side of the page within the green circle. So instead of just recording 1 lot relative to this 4-dwelling townhouse structure, the developer would possibly have the opportunity to record and sell all 4 lots associated with that one structure. So that might help us understand a little bit better about this summary we're about to read here. This would be in addition to Article 100.08. The developers of major subdivisions consisting of multiple multifamily dwellings, also known as multiple townhouse and duplex structures, and lots which are to be developed in phases, and who have received approval of the major subdivision preliminary plat by the Putnam County Planning Commission, shall receive a one-time exemption to record and sell parcels of land assigned and associated with one entire multifamily dwelling structure, aka one entire townhouse structure or one entire duplex structure, before the final plat is approved by the Putnam County Planning Commission to assist the developer in the financing improvements. No such exemption will be allowed for any subsequent phase of the same major subdivision consisting of multifamily dwellings, townhouse or duplex, unless or until the prior phase has received final plat approval from the Putnam County Planning Commission. This one-time exemption will be available provided that the number of lots in the phase is at least 20% of the number of lots of the overall development. The lots must derive access from existing streets or roads, or must derive access from streets which the Planning Commission shall determine are consistent with the final approval of the subdivision. If neither of these conditions can be met, the nearest property corner of the lots must be within the first 500 feet of the subdivision entrance for the platted section, or be within 500 feet of a street that the Planning Commission shall determine is consistent with the final approval of the subdivision. Facts that we need to determine: the proposed amendment would protect and promote the public health, safety, convenience, moral, and general welfare. The governing body, with the advice of the Planning Commission, must find that the amendment is consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan and ordinances. If the amendment is inconsistent, the governing body, with the advice of the Planning Commission, must find that there have been major changes of an economic, physical, or social nature within the area involved, which were not anticipated when the comprehensive plan was adopted. And those changes have substantially altered the basic characteristics of the area. The reference documents are at the President's seat. which are the Tays Valley Land Use Plan, the US 35 Corridor Management Plan, and the Putnam County Community Plan 2014, Bridging to the Future. I'm going to read the existing language in Article 100.08, which will help us to understand how this would relate to townhouses and duplex subdivisions. The existing language reads, "The developer or owner of a subdivision which has received approval of the major subdivision plat will be allowed a one-lot exemption for each phase of development with the following changes. The major subdivision which are developed in phases shall receive a one-lot exemption for each phase, provided that the phase is at least 20% of the size of the number of lots of the overall development and has a minimum of 5 lots. No such one-lot exemption will be allowed for any subsequent phase unless and until the prior phase has received final plat approval from the Putnam County Office of Planning and Infrastructure. The lot must derive access from existing streets or roads, must derive access from streets which the Planning Commission shall determine are consistent with the final approval of the subdivision. If neither of these conditions can be met, the nearest property corner of the lot must be within the first 500 feet of the subdivision entrance for the platted section, or be within 500 feet of a street that the Planning Commission shall determine is consistent with the final approval of the subdivision." So the proposed language that I read earlier would be in addition to this existing language, but it would relate to townhouse and duplex subdivisions, which we are seeing a lot more of, since large plots of land for the traditional big single-family dwelling subdivisions are becoming scarce. Facts relative to this proposal. On January 11th, Mr. Asbury, chairperson of the Putnam County Ordinance Subcommittee and the Putnam County Planning Commission, petitioned for a text amendment. You can see attachment A for the application. This was legally advertised in the Hurricane Breeze on January 20th and on January 27th. Your options. Should the Putnam County Planning Commission desire further information regarding the facts and hearsay presented during the public hearing, the matter may be postponed for action later. Should the Putnam County Planning Commission find that the text amendments protect and promote the public health, safety, convenience, moral, and general welfare, and meets the intent of the referenced planning documents, comprehensive plan and ordinance, the request may be approved by the Putnam County Planning Commission. Should the Putnam County Planning Commission find that the text amendments do not protect and promote the public health, safety, convenience, moral, and general welfare, or does not meet the intent of the referenced planning documents, the request may be denied by the Putnam County Planning Commission. Should the Putnam County Planning Commission find that only parts of the proposed text amendment protect and promote the public health, safety, convenience, moral, and general welfare, and meet the intent of the referenced documents, while others do not, then the Putnam County Planning Commission may recommend approval of one or more while recommending denial of one or more. There is a worksheet at the back of this amendment for you to fill out. Facts that need to be determined for the text amendment. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Before you go any further, and this is my apology if I'm wrong here, being my second meeting, is this under a public hearing? Do we need a public hearing for the, yes, we need to open a public hearing. We didn't do that at the start.
I'm sorry.
So with that, I call a public hearing and open the public hearing for this matter. Is there any conflict amongst the board? Okay. I, as the applicant, have no additional comments either. Anybody from the public like to make a comment?
Are you guys going to have public hearings on each of the 3 amendments?
Yes, ma'am. Okay. All right, so no public comments. Anybody have questions for staff?
I'm sorry.
It's questions for staff.
I have one that at least 20%. Now, I guess I'm just a little bit confused. At least 20 or no more than 20? What are we,
Let's see
I mean,
here.
what are you trying to, I mean, what's the, And you're looking at the exemption.
Well,
I know you read in the,
a good example of that, if you'll look at this on page 3 of this, you see that the building circled in red, those 4 lots there, that's 26% of the overall total lots. This building is 26% of the lots in this development. So, yeah, they need to be at least 20% of the total lots in the subdivision. Basically, the intent is to allow the developer to, instead of recording and selling one tiny little lot, they would be able to sell all the lots associated with one individual entire townhouse or duplex structure, as opposed to one little slice of it.
what if, maybe it wouldn't meet approval in the first place, preliminary plan. What if you had an eight-unit building and a couple other smaller buildings, and so you let a one-lot exemption go, and you can sell 8 of them out of a total of 12, or,
I think what he's asking is, what's the rationale behind leased
Yeah.
versus no more
Yeah.
than?
Yeah.
Well,
Or greater than.
actually, that was,
Because you're allowed an exemption without final plat approval. I understand the whole concept of it. I
Yeah.
know why it's there,
Right.
to let the developer, get some seed money.
Yeah.
Help pay for some of that,
Right.
Infrastructure, because I've been there, done that.
Right.
So, but I couldn't understand why it's at least instead of no more than.
well, let me see here. That was basically copied
Well, I
from the
know you
existing,
read the existing one lot. and I
yeah, the
could never
existing
understand that
language here.
either.
Let me verify this.
Mr. Call, I think maybe we want to go back to what was done earlier, and I believe that when you were doing phases, that you could have a one-lot exemption for each phase, and I
Right.
thought that when we did it at that time, each phase had to be at least 20% of the total.
It is.
So I think maybe we've confused some language here, and
Yeah.
I think Vic's probably correct. We need to make sure
Yeah.
that the language is
Yes.
appropriate.
Yes, I misspoke. I'm sorry. It does say at least
Yeah.
20%.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And I'm saying it's not a matter of at least, but it should be no more than. In other words, you don't want to allow an exemption for greater than a certain percentage of it, or then, if you get,
Because they can sell 90% of it.
with the one lot exemption.
Right.
Yeah, and I think what we really should do is, it should be one complete unit. If this particular example that we have, if somebody wanted to build the duplex before the quadruplex, I think you should be able to do that. I thought that was the intent of it.
Yeah, that was my concern, say lot 75 and 79 sold, and that was the one coming in for the one-lot exemption. Would that meet that 20%?
My point is, why would you need to meet at least 20% for an exemption?
Right. No, I agree with
The
that.
developer, we're doing it for the developer so he can get some money to pay for it, so, our limitation would be the other way.
Do you remember what the subcommittee, okay.
It may, like you said, Ron, it may simply be the difference between the intention of the phases initially versus, but
Yeah, I understand the purpose and why we did the original one, and I think that was good sound
It's- it's
judgment,
been
because
there for a
you
long time,
want to
that
make sure
one lot
that somebody's not
exemption.
going to phase in one lot at a time.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we made sure that it had to be 20% of the total. I think here we have it's a different animal. So we just need to come up with an appropriate thing. I do think, based on what's shown here, that the quadruplex should be allowed to be built all one unit, because there's 4 there. I guess if you use that maximum of 26%, then you still can't do that here, in this example that we have in front of us.
well, I think, as the planning commission, our concern would be that we allow too much development before final plat approval. Because, before final plat approval, can you record? Can you sell 4 units? Could you sell 8 units? If you get the exemption?
Well, the way I would understand this one here, if somebody's going to build this 4-unit structure, they couldn't sell, if we restricted it to 26% or whatever, 25, pick the number, if that doesn't fall within that category, then you're going to have trouble with this individual. He almost needs to sell all 4 at one time, or you're going to stage him one at a time, which creates issues that we've had before with other ones, so.
He's going to have more than likely have to build all 4 at the same time with the shared wall.
Yeah, you're right. You
So
know.
my question would be, so go ahead, Ron.
Well, so if you're building all 4 at one time and you sell one of them, how are you going to do the final plat without selling the other 3 kind of at the same time? It just seems to be, kind of seems to muddy the water a little bit to me.
My question would be should this be a percentage? Instead of doing a percentage, what is the largest unit we allow? Is it an 8 unit, 6 unit?
I believe it's 8.
When you get into a multi-use unit situation, I would be in favor of saying that this one lot exemption would go up to whatever the largest unit is. You know, if you have a mixed development of triplexes, duplexes, and 8 units, you can sell one, whatever that largest denominator is, regardless of the percentage of the lots. Something along that line.
Actually, the subdivision regulations for a townhouse, it's a minimum of 3 and not more than 10
Okay.
per structure.
Still
So
allowed
in
10 to
this
be sold, there's only
situation,
20 total.
I personally don't have a problem with it, but that's y'all's, yeah.
I guess what's the intention of the final plat approval? I mean, when you don't want a developer, not finishing the,
Right.
all the improvements, and you got
Right.
10 people in there that own property.
Yeah.
should we kick this one to the subcommittee meeting on the 7th? Talk about it some more?
Yeah, I think this one, we need a motion to table it back or send it back to the subcommittee, but I think that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what the issue was, but some of the issues were related to the bank and when they can make a draw. If they don't have final plat approval on certain things, then they can't get their draw, they can't close out their loan, they can't continue on. So that was part of the issue, I believe, that was brought up. We need to make sure that that's not an issue, otherwise you're going to discourage especially some of the smaller builders from being able to build in our area.
Okay. So we'll revisit this on the 7th?
Hang on, yeah, go ahead, Dave.
I think I understand the intent, but there's just so many, what if this happens or what if that happens, that I think that you're going to have to keep some of it for common sense, because the best design plan, if things go differently in the field, can come back to bite you. So I would recommend that you table it and you try to wash out the scenarios that are possible, so that you make it as black and white as you can to protect not only the people that might buy the units, but also the developer and also, everybody involved.
Okay. So Dave, I'm assuming that's in the form of a motion to table this back to the subcommittee?
I would like to make that motion.
So I have a motion to send this back to the subcommittee. Do I have a second?
Negative.
Okay, we've got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. We'll close this public hearing on this, and this will be addressed at the next subcommittee meeting. All right, next item here is I'm going to open a public hearing for the text amendment for Article 1300.02, Design and Construction Requirements for Lots and Setbacks. We have any conflict of interest amongst the board? Okay, Mr. Call?
Okay. This one will be easier. When we were looking at the language, again, relative to townhouses and duplex in Article 1300.02. We noticed some ambiguity in the existing text, which led us to this discussion. So what we'd like to do with this amendment is add some text to the existing article. We'd like to add lot averaging, the allocation of lot sizes in a residential subdivision based on the average lot size as defined below. The average lot size must equal or exceed the minimum lot size permitted in the respective zone district. To determine the average lot size, the following formula shall be used. Total square footage of the development minus total square footage of the roads, common areas, and other areas not available for residential development, divided by the total number of residential lots available for development, equals the average lot size. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here and explain the ambiguity that we just spoke of earlier. In the existing language of 1300.02, it states minimum lot area of a townhouse development shall be equal to 3,500 square feet per unit with a maximum of 8 dwelling units per acre. And the next sentence, which is somewhat contradictory, says there is no minimum lot area requirement for an individual townhouse lot. If the property is in a zoned area of Putnam County, refer to the zoning ordinance of the zoned unincorporated areas of Putnam County. By adding this definition of lot averaging and the formula, I think that will help to clear up this possible confusion in the existing language. And if you refer again to this visual, the next visual presentation of 2022-03, if you'll turn to the third page, you'll see the formula actually in action relative to this plat. This plat was a good example of how to utilize the formula. The total square footage of the development is 24,027 square feet. The total square footage of roads, common areas, and other areas not available for residential development is 9,757 square feet. Total number of residential lots available for development is 4 lots. So the 24,027 minus 9,757 is 14,270 square feet. You divide that by 4 lots, and that's 3,567.5 square feet, which exceeds the minimum lot size of 3,500 square feet. So that is a very good representation of the formula. So by adding the definition of lot averaging in the formula to the Article 1300, hopefully it will clear up that possible confusion about
It appears this would be especially important when you have irregular shaped parcels of land.
Mm-hmm. True. When we first looked at this, having the confusion about that language, the 2 interior lots appeared to be not large enough. But then if you read on and understand the lot averaging formula, you realize that it works out just right, that there really is no minimum for these lots. But if you read that first sentence, it would lead one to believe that the minimum lot must be 3,500 square feet. So I think if we add the lot averaging definition and the formula to that text, it would clear that up. Again, facts. Mr. Asbury submitted this proposed text amendment to Article 1300.02. It's shown as Attachment A. It was advertised January 20th and the 27th. Your options Planning Commission desire further information regarding the facts and hearsay presented during the public hearing. The matter may be postponed for action later. Should the Putnam County Planning Commission find that the text amendments protect and promote the public health, safety, convenience, moral, and general welfare, and meets the intent of the referenced planning documents, comprehensive plan and ordinance, the request may be approved by the Putnam County Planning Commission. Should the Putnam County Planning Commission find that the text amendments do not protect and promote the public health, safety, convenience, moral, and general welfare, or does not meet the intent of the referenced planning documents, the request can be denied by the Putnam County Planning Commission. Should the Planning Commission find that only parts of the proposed text amendment protect and promote the public health, safety, convenience, moral, and general welfare, and meet the intent of the referenced documents, while others do not, then the Planning Commission may recommend approval of one or more, while recommending denial of one or more. And again, you have the worksheet at the end.
As the applicant, I do not have any additional comments other than what Mr. Call has presented. Public comments on this one? Okay. Any comments, questions for staff? All right, I'll go ahead and close this public meeting. We have the worksheet there to work through to determine a decision for this text amendment. So relevant facts, criteria 1, will the proposed amendment protect and promote the public health, safety, convenience, morals, and general welfare?
Mr. President, I believe it would. I don't think we're deviating much from the current, just adding some flexibility to accommodate, like the commissioner said, some potentially odd-shaped lot sizes and things of that nature. So my answer there is yes.
Mr. Holman has answered yes. Do we have anybody that would like to offer additional comments or a differing opinion? Okay. Number 2, is the amendment consistent in achieving the objectives of the adopted comprehensive plan, US 35 corridor management plan, and the Teays Valley land use plan?
Mr. President, same really response to the first one. I think that with our objectives to maximize the use of our land across all different measures, that this is providing some flexibility and other elements for people that look to develop. So I believe it would.
Anybody would like to offer a different opinion? Okay. Number 3, if consistent with the comprehensive plan, US 35 corridor management plan, or the Teays Valley land use plan, has there been major changes of an economic, physical, or social nature that has substantially altered the basic characteristics of, sorry, we don't have to do that one. Thank you, we don't. Go get my feet wet. So going through that, we do have several options here in the form of a motion that is to recommend this for approval to the county commission. We could make a motion that this is denied, send this back to the subcommittee. So.
President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the proposed text amendment 2022-03 for approval by the county commission.
Mr. Holman has made a motion for approval as presented. Do I have a second? Mr. Yeager has seconded that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, next item here is Article 1700.17D, home occupation. We'll open the public hearing for this item. Any conflict of interest amongst the board? Mr. Call, floor is yours.
Thank you. All right, this is proposed text amendment to modify Article 1700.17D, home occupation. Its proposal is to removal of language that states, "A home occupation shall not be permitted to sell upon the premises articles produced elsewhere." In the addition of language that states, "A home occupation shall include internet sales," which is the buying and selling of goods using the internet. Facts need to be determined. The proposed amendment would protect and promote the public health, safety, convenience, moral, and general welfare. The governing body, with the advice of the Planning Commission, must find that the amendment is consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan and ordinances. If the amendment is inconsistent, the governing body, with the advice of the Planning Commission, must find that there have been major changes of an economic, physical, or social nature within the area involved, which were not anticipated when the comprehensive plan was adopted, and those changes have substantially altered the basic characteristics of the area. If we go on over to Article 1700.17, requirements for unique land uses, where it describes home occupation. It says a home occupation shall be conducted wholly within the principal or accessory structure, and it shall not be permitted to sell upon the premises articles produced elsewhere. We feel that should be stricken because it is in direct conflict with some of the things that may be included as a home occupation in bullet point number 3, which is one of the things that jumps out at you is the sale of cosmetic products, which certainly aren't produced in the premises, and other things that may be sold via the internet. And that we propose that the internet sales, the buying and selling of goods using the internet be added to an approved home occupation. Mr. Asbury presented this on January 11th. This application, you'll see attachment A. This was legally advertised in the Hurricane Breeze on January 20th and the 27th. Your options. For the Planning Commission desire further information regarding the facts and hearsay presented during the public hearing, this matter may be postponed for action later. Should the Planning Commission find that the text amendment protects and promotes the public health, safety, convenience, moral, and general welfare and meets the intent of the reference planning documents, comprehensive plan and ordinance, the request may be approved by the Planning Commission. Should the Planning Commission find that the text amendments do not protect and promote the public health, safety, convenience, moral, and general welfare, or does not meet the intent of the reference planning documents, the request may be denied. Should the Putnam County Planning Commission find that only parts of the proposed text amendment protect and promote the public health, safety, convenience, moral, and general welfare and meet the intent of the reference documents while others do not, then the Putnam County Planning Commission may recommend approval of one or more while recommending denial of one or more. And again, the worksheet is at the end of the packet.
Again, as the applicant, I have no additional comments other than what Mr. Call has presented. We'll open this up for public comment.
My apologies, I can't hear very well back there.
That's all right. Just again, for the record, just state your name and address, please.
Linda Tennant, 7 Hampton Crossing, Hurricane, West Virginia. I just have 3 general questions to start out with. The first one is on the Ordinance Review Subcommittee. Will that agenda and meeting date be posted on the website?
Certainly.
Okay. And then you got to remember, I'm from the public, so I look on the website to see, what's going on. On the current ordinance for this 1700.7, the ordinance is published on the website as Section D is listed as a heliport and helipad. So has there been a change to the ordinance?
The ordinance on the website, I have a meeting scheduled with the gentleman who manages the website to get
Okay.
a lot of that cleaned up.
Okay.
and that it will be taken care of very shortly. Any
Yeah.
inconsistencies like that.
Yeah, because it's really causing a lot of confusion out here in the public, so
Yeah.
it would be appreciated. And because, the other thing I wanted to say, under D1, D and E are not included on the website either. Then I have two questions on the amendment. Where it lists professional offices and these other occupations, is there a limit to the number of establishments that can be set in one of these areas? For example, you just have one professional office, or can you have 15 salons in one house or one piece of property? Is there a limit for the number of home occupation uses? So what you're saying is, you're allowed bed and breakfast establishments, tourist homes, home hosting, salon, fine art studios, professional offices, teaching of not more than 2 pupils, seamstresses, cabinet makers, real estate, and insurance agents, door-to-door sales of home and cosmetic products. So is there a limit to the number that can be part of the property, or is it just one?
My interpretation would be, it's a space limitation based on the structure that's on the site. I'm not as concerned from my perspective. If I want to put 2 chairs or 2 offices in my home, it's up to me.
Is your question, make sure I understand the question, is the question whether you can have 2 different activities in one facility, or is it whether you could have, like he's saying, 2 chairs in one salon?
It probably both are those my questions. You
Okay.
can answer both of those.
There is one thing in the ordinance that would prevent a big activity, which is says you wouldn't have more traffic than a normal residential subdivision would generate. So I think you have that safety there. I do think that we should consider whether we allow one or more differing items in a particular residence. But I don't think that our purpose is to have one house, for example, that would have 3 or 4 different types of ongoing activities within that house.
Well, Ron, on the traffic, there's some places that do not require a traffic study, so how would you base if there is going to be an impact of traffic in a subdivision?
I think you would have to have that coming from the Planning Commission when we review it to determine that, and it's one of those, shall we say, common sense issues. If you had somebody that's going to have 8 chairs in a salon, obviously that's going to create more traffic than one.
Yeah.
So I think that would be at the discretion of the Planning Commission.
Okay.
That's how I would envision it. I don't know about the other people.
My suggestion is to put it in the language so everybody can understand, what those requirements are. Is there a limit? And if there's not a limit, and the type of businesses that can go into a home, what are those limitations? So, then my second question is, under Article 150 of the definitions of the ordinances, there is a definition for professional services. I don't know if you guys have the definition page. But those services include medical, lawyers, architects, engineers, funeral home directors. Would these types of services be part of this home occupation use? Is there a definition of what professional offices and professional services would be? And would a citizen go back and look at the definition of professional services? Here's the definition, if you guys want to see it. So my point is professional offices is a very broad
Yeah,
definition.
and I do think, I mean, from where we sat when we discussed this, we wanted to keep this broad, again, going back to Commissioner Foster, giving us the leeway to use some common sense when these come before us. Because if I say professional services or professional offices are just in that, and then we missed one, that's a disservice to the public, in my opinion. And that was when we crafted this language, we kept that broad and kept it broad for a reason.
Okay, so anybody who wants to do the home occupation, if they believe that they follow these requirements under professional offices, teaching, they won't have to bring that to the planning commission, right? That will just be, so how will you guys know that they've not put in 15 doctor's offices in one home?
I trust our planning director when he reviews this. That's what we hired him for. He's a professional, as well as the great staff we have here when these applications come in. That's what we pay them to do.
Okay. And then will the public be notified of those applications? Will that be a public hearing?
I don't believe we're required by the ordinance or by state code to do that. If you would like to.
As you know, the agendas to all of our meetings are posted for all the public to see. Public hearings are required for certain items. Home occupation is not one of them. In general, home occupations have historically been handled in-house. The only one I'm aware of off the top of my head that's been brought to the board has been within the last year and a half-ish, simply because it was
Because,
a situation where staff was unsure as to how to proceed, so it was brought to the board to determine.
that was the cosmetologist who wanted to do the hair. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so I guess, I mean, if it's, I guess how is my question going to be answered if it's already in here that you can have professional offices? and it
Correct
doesn't have
me
to
if I'm
go-
wrong, and I was just giving, and if I am wrong, I will apologize. The only thing that we are discussing and voting on is sell upon the premises, articles produced elsewhere to be striked, internet sales, the buying and selling of goods using the internet to be added. This other language has already been discussed at a previous public hearing and approved not only by this planning, recommended for approval by this body, and then and then approved by the county commission. Is that correct?
Correct.
So, not to sound rude, that's in the ordinance, and we've already addressed this. We're only addressing item A and the sale.
Okay, so let me ask my question then on internet sales. If somebody wants to do internet sales and they want to hire 40 employees in order to do that with 40 offices, will that be permitted under this ordinance?
There are multiple items, and it's on this page, anyone wants to look in their packet, which a home occupation has to be. A is clearly incidental to or secondary to the residential use of the dwelling unit and is customarily and traditionally carried on within a dwelling unit by one or more occupants of the dwelling, is limited to members of the resident's family. So there are other, considerations other than just what they desire to do. So personally, I think to answer your question about multiple, employees from outside the home, it's just not allowed under home occupation.
And then that's what you guys will, when you get the application, that's what you will check, is these items here.
It's actually on the application for the applicant to fill out. These questions are there.
Perfect. That answers my question. Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. All right, anybody have any other questions for staff at this time? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and close the public hearing. We have another worksheet to work through. Criteria 1, will the proposed amendment protect and promote the public health, safety, convenience, morals, and general welfare?
Yeah, I believe it does. And again, I think we're adjusting to what is more common practice and allowing for these types of businesses to exist without much hindrance from our governing board or others with regards to our ordinances. So, the general welfare morals, as we see them today, I believe are being accommodated.
Any other difference of opinion? Okay. Number 2, is the amendment consistent in achieving the objectives of the adopted comprehensive plan, US 35 corridor management plan, and the Tays Valley land use plan?
I believe by giving residents the ability to pursue these types of occupations from their home is allowing them the maximum benefit of their property or future properties to be developed. So yes.
Any difference of opinion on that? All right, so answers to both criteria is yes. Mr. Call presented some options here. We'll entertain a motion from the board for direction on this.
Mr. President, I make a motion that to approve proposed text amendment 2022-04 for full approval from the county commission.
Mr. Holman has made a motion to recommend approval as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Sorry.
I have a motion, I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Glenn, are you opposing or in favor? Thank you. I like the delay. All right. Next on the agenda, the monthly report, which is also included in our packets. Mr. Call, is that you?
Okay, monthly report. Okay, you see, in the first month of January, we've been quite busy with the development permits, zoning permits, and zoning issues. If you look at the next page, you see that this has been the busiest month we've had for many years. Certainly the most development permits we've had since we've been in the 2000s. And the 05 and 08 have been the only Januaries where we've come close to the zoning permits. So we've been quite busy there. And there's another sheet in here where we're compared to 2019, and we're way ahead in January. For instance, January of 2019, we only had 5 development permits, whereas this past January, we've had 35. So we've been quite busy. And you'll see on the permit status, got a lot of permits have been approved. I think we've got 8 more that'll go out tomorrow. So we're working hard.
Yes, I would say so. Staff report? Let me back up. Anybody have any questions on the monthly report, permit status report? Staff report?
I just want to remind you of our subcommittee meeting, March 7th, where we'll discuss the issues tonight and several others we have listed.
Mr. Call, could you, for our next meeting, give us an update on where we are in having being able to project our information so that
Yes,
the public can see it?
certainly. I'm meeting with Mr. Wells of the IT department tomorrow, as a matter of fact, to try to get the iPads up and running, and that will include the projection.
Okay, I think that'll help the public out dramatically once we get that done.
I think so.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And while you're here,
I'll let you know the status of that meeting.
Okay.
I'll thank you and your staff. These packets are phenomenal.
Oh, thank you.
It's, to me, been very beneficial and much appreciated for the work and the effort that you guys have been putting in.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Any unfinished business? Any new business? Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. Glenn, Dave, appreciate you guys. I'm going to hang up on you. Y'all too.